Hello and welcome. His Highness Sheikh Jaber Mubarak Al Hamad Al Sabah, the Prime Minister, received today at Sif Palace the Ambassador of France to Kuwait, His Excellency Christian Nakla, who conveyed a written message to His Highness from the French Foreign Minister, Manuel Valls. The message dealt with bilateral relations and means of consolidating them in all domains. A scheduled GCC US ministerial meeting was held today with the participation of the First Deputy Premier and Foreign Minister Sheikh Sabah Al-Khalid Al-Hamad Al-Sabah. The meeting, which gathered the GCC Foreign Minister with US Secretary of State John Kerry, discussed the latest developments of the Iranian nuclear profile in addition to tackling issues of common concern. The Deputy Premier and Foreign Minister and the Minister of Interior, Sheikh Mohammed Al-Khalid Al-Hamad Al-Sabah, met with the Ambassador of the UK to His Excellency Kuwait, His Excellency Matthew Lodge, who conveyed a written message to Sheikh Mohammed Al-Khalid from his British counterpart. The message covered bilateral relations, underlined the UK's keenness on mutual security cooperation with the State of Kuwait, in addition to applying the electronic visa system due to be operated this year after solving a number of technical malfunctions that occurred when applying the system in other countries. The Deputy Premier and Minister of Interior also met with the Ambassador of Pakistan to Kuwait, His Excellency Mohammed Islam Khan, who extended an invitation to Sheikh Mohammed Al-Khalid from his Pakistani counterpart to visit the capital, Islamabad. The Deputy Premier and the Minister of Interior, Sheikh Mohammed Al-Khalid Al-Hamad Al-Sabah, met today with the head of the committee tasked with rehabilitating those with extremist ideologies in the Central Prison and Assistant Undersecretary of Interior, Ministry for Correctional Facilities Affairs and the Execution, General Khalid Al-Dayin, along with committee members. Sheikh Mohammed Al-Khalid praised the efforts exerted by the committee in rehabilitating the people with extremist ideologies and qualifying them to play a constructive role in the society. He also affirmed His Highness the Emir Sheikh Sabah Al-Ahmad Al-Jaber Al-Sabah's keenness on supporting the youth against these destructive thoughts through raising their awareness towards the moderate and tolerant values of Islam. Iraqi forces backed by militias fought with the so-called Islamic State group today retook areas in the country's north. Reports said Iraqi soldiers firing machine guns and mortars towards what they believed were IS group positions in the northern city of Tikrit. Iraqi troops were unable to advance as roadside mines and suicide attacks hindered their progress. The battle for Tikrit, a strategic city along the river Tigris, will likely be won or lost on allied Iraqi forces' ability to counter the extremist bombs. Tikrit was taken by the IS group along with the country's second largest city, Mosul, during the IS lightning advance last year across the north. A monitoring group said dozens of Syrian security personnel and rebels were killed in an attack on an intelligence facility in the city of Aleppo. The Syrian Observatory for Human Rights said the dead included members of Air Force intelligence, pro-government militiamen, and rebel attackers. The group reported that the attack began when a bomb placed in a tunnel near the Air Force intelligence headquarters was detonated. Rebels then launched an assault on the building, and government forces responded with shell fire and called in air strikes. Warplanes from Libya's internationally recognized government carried out airstrikes on a Tripoli airport just hours before United Nations-backed peace talks were due to start in Morocco. The jets hit an open area near the runway at the airport but caused no major damage and the airport was operating normally. The government did not immediately confirm the attack. Libya has two rival governments with armed forces battling for control. Delegates from the two factions are holding UN-backed peace talks in Morocco to try to resolve the crisis. China's representative at talks on Iran's nuclear program said he sees hope of a deal before a deadline at the end of June, a day after U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry said significant gaps remained to be negotiated. Wang Quan from China's foreign ministry said that he is hopeful negotiators are at the final stage of reaching a comprehensive agreement with Iran. The six powers and Iran have an end June deadline to reach an agreement that curbs Iranian nuclear work in exchange for sanctions relief. But the Western powers hope to have a political framework agreement by the end of March. U.S. Ambassador His Excellency Mark Leppert was in stable condition today after a man demanding for a unified North and South Korea slashed him on the face and wrist with a knife. The Minister Counselor for Public Affairs at the U.S. Embassy in Seoul said Leppert was in good spirits after undergoing surgery on his face and arm. The U.S. State Department condemned the attack, which happened at the Performing Arts Center in downtown Seoul as the ambassador was preparing for a lecture about prospects for peace on the divided Korean peninsula. Lawmakers in the South Korean parliament held a Foreign Affairs and Unification Committee meeting where they questioned the foreign ministry on how the government would deal with the aftermath of the attack. Meanwhile, Vice Foreign Minister, who was summoned to the meeting, said that both South Korea and the United States had agreed that the coalition between the two countries would not be damaged by the incident. One Ukrainian serviceman was killed and another wounded in fighting with the pro-Russian separatists in the east as Kyiv accused rebels of increasing violations of a ceasefire deal. President Petro Poroshenko, whose initiative to boost the armed forces by a third was passed easily in parliament, has called the ceasefire the last chance for peace with the pro-Russian rebels. Officials said the rebels were not only failing to stop firing and pull back, but in fact building up forces in southern Donetsk province, near the Ukrainian-held port city of Mariupol. Meanwhile, Russian Deputy Defense Minister Anatoly Antonov refused claims by the United States that there are thousands of Russian troops supporting separatists in eastern Ukraine and massed along the joint border ready to cross. Pakistani lawmakers voted for new senators in the parliament's upper house today in an election that could strengthen Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif's grip on power and increase his ability to pass important legislations. The main opposition party, the Pakistan People's Party, currently holds a majority in the Senate. But projections by analysts indicate that after today's vote, Sharif's ruling party is expected to win almost equal representation in the upper house. There are 132 candidates running for 48 Senate seats today. Members of both houses of parliament voted in the poll, with results expected later in the day. The newly elected senators will take oath and elect a chairman on March 12th. Preparing for the upcoming International Women's Day Summit entitled Towards Women Empowerment, a press conference was held to reveal all the concerning details. Up to 600 personalities are expected to take part in the summit that would tackle diverse issues, namely the impact of mounting extremism and Arab Spring events on women's status in the Arab countries. Hiba Abdurrahman has more details in the following report.
Under the patronage of His Highness the Emir Sheikh Sabah Al Ahmed Al Jaber Al Sabah, Kuwait is preparing to host a summit entitled International Women's Day Towards Empowerment for the first time. During the press conference, President of the Women's Committee in the Kuwaiti Society of Engineers, or KSE, Bashair Al-Awad, said that the summit will discuss challenges, problems and issues related to women around the world and ways of addressing them.
The International Women's Day Summit this year, it's so special that it's a summit. It's not anymore an only international. We are not anymore celebrating the International Women's Day because we are looking forward of empowering women, and our summit will be under this title, which is Empowering Women. Then we will talk about the themes that together will empower women. That we are talking about the self, then family, society, the country and the world. So we find out that if we balance those 5 pillars of the theme, the main theme, then we will find this empowering women on site here in Kuwait and all over the world.
This summit is co-organized by an International Committee for Women, affiliate to World Federation of Engineering Organizations, and the Kuwaiti Society of Engineers in collaboration with Ministry of State for Youth Affairs, Women's Research and Studies Center, and Voluntary Action Center. The event will focus on raising women's awareness about their significant role in society and giving them top posts to help them contribute to pushing ahead the wheel of production and developing their countries. The gathering will also discuss how to develop talents and tackle issues related to families as well as responsibility toward the homeland. From Kuwait's National Library, I am Hiba Abdurrahman reporting for English News.
At the end of this week's trading at Kuwait Stock Exchange, the main indices closed with losses. KSX 15 recorded 1,097.24 points with a loss of 3.92 points, and the weighted index closed at 451.47 points, losing 1.21 points. The price index ended trading at 6,539.29 points, going down by 23.21 points. A press conference was recently held at the French Institute located in Jabriya to launch the alumni website with French higher schools and universities who will be visiting Kuwait for 2 days for information related to the French Education Fair taking place at the Gulf University of Science and Technology. The Education Fair is held in collaboration with the French Embassy. His Excellency, the French Ambassador to Kuwait, attended the event along with the Counselor for Cooperation and Cultural Affairs at the French Embassy. Reporter Ghanwa Jabouri was there and will bring us this report.
France is indeed a beautiful country and a favourite holiday destination to societies around the globe. Kuwaitis too are known to be very fond of France. Education too is of an excellent standard and has earned a well-respected reputation for being a pioneer in education.
It's not so much a big deal, it's just a question of will. First of all, I would like to say to all the students that they don't need to speak French first to study in France. We have 100% taught in English programs. It doesn't mean they don't have to learn French. They will learn it in France. Perhaps they will learn it a little before for the daily life, and they will become francophone after, but they can study in English in some business school, political sciences institutes, also in some University of Sciences, engineering university. So more and more we have 100% taught in English programs for foreign students.
There are a number of compelling reasons to study in France. For example, France is the third country in the world for international students. European degrees are internationally recognized, and most of all programs are taught in English.
Kuwaiti people, or Kuwaiti friends, really enjoy going to France, but they mostly enjoy to go to France for touristic purposes. And so what we're trying to develop right now is to develop actually academic exchange between the two countries. That's very important because, you know, France is in the world the third country which welcomes the biggest number of students worldwide. It's about 300,000 students. But out of these 300,000, there are only 150 Kuwaiti students, and we think it's not enough.
France is a lovely country, but it's also a country where you have great universities, great engineering schools, medical schools, and we are very proud of our education in France, not only as a primary education at schools, but also in universities, and what we call the grandes écoles, which are what we call schools where you enter after a competition, national competition in engineering, in management, and business, and all those fields. So we are very happy to introduce our universities here in Kuwait and to encourage Kuwaitis to come to our country and to study. France is a wonderful country. It's in the center of Europe. It's easy to travel. It's easy to make good acquaintances there, good friends. Now there's a language. French is a lovely language as well. You can study French. It's not so difficult. We have an institute here in Kuwait, the French Institute of Kuwait, where Kuwaitis can very easily learn our language, and then probably in France discover other people and to practice the language and to practice the language with French people.
A number of people have stated during the event that education in France can truly offer potential students an array of exciting opportunities related to study and beyond.
Studying abroad offers students an extremely enriching experience. Studying in France is without a doubt one of the best countries for education on a number of levels. From the French Institute Jabria, I'm Kenra Jaburi reporting to you for the English News.
Thank you, Rana. For a chance to see our reports again, please visit our YouTube channel at MY Kuwait News. Before we end, here is a quick reminder of today's headlines. The First Deputy Premier and Foreign Minister takes part in the GCC US ministerial meeting. The Deputy Premier and Minister of Interior receives a written message from his British counterpart. Iraqi forces fight with the so-called Islamic State group to retake areas in the country's northern city of Tikrit. Government warplanes carry out airstrikes on a Tripoli airport just hours before UN-backed peace talks in Morocco.